viewers and watchers of the Time Stream. It is time for another magical, stupendous, enthralling, I'll calm down, you get the picture, episode of Dungeon Rundown. I am your host, Trisha Hershberger, and for the next hour or so, we're talking all things Dungeon Run. Streaming live first right here on Caffeine, the Dungeon Rundown is an exclusive insider's peek into the game, straight from your favorite characters. Now this week in studio to chat about their last adventure, we've got Ugo, Ron, and James Quillis. Morgan. This is going to be so good. I am so very excited, and I can see from chat that you guys are too. Squiggly says, best show ever. So make sure that you guys get in on the conversation. Those fingers a-typing. Now, to get you ready for this week's rundown, let's take a minute to check out some of the best moments from last week's Dungeon Run episode. Watch.
When you're mad, make amends. At the end of the day, you'll still be friends. When in doubt, hug it out. Make a beautiful smile.
That is bad for her.
Oh, wow.
17 points of damage.
Whoa! Whoa!
Which actually kills her.
Oh!
So she reaches in her own mouth, and you see her own mouth get frayed and sliced open, and she's just digging and tearing into herself.
That is one of the more disturbing D&D deaths I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm gonna try to talk to a bird.
Okay.
You there? Excuse me, caw.
There's a bird high in the sky, and you see it go,
Hello! Yes, last night, are they still attacking?
Brad!
Yes, you are, yes. Excellent.
3 more seagulls come down.
No, this is a terrible
And
idea.
then they start pooping on the...
I feel like it was a good idea. Never mind. 23.
Wow. It's a bad bite.
It's half my health.
Its eyes beady, and it's just gouging into your leg, and blood squirts out. So DC's 11. You hit it. You got it. You have a negative?
1.
Oh no!
Just gonna say, can I use that's all folks on him and pin him to that?
You summon from the amulet. You see him look at the harpy as if he wants to be there, and he steps off as if leaping. A giant metal anvil comes from the sky, slams into his foot, and you're pinned here.
Better than in the drink.
Yeah.
Thank you, the Wookiee King.
Yeah, the Wookiee King.
Thank you, the Wookiee King.
All right, I just legit got goosebumps. You can see them on me. I just got goosebumps watching that. That was incredible.
That was almost very bad.
It was almost very bad.
Yes.
Did you guys appreciate having that little recap just to, refresh your memory?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you to whoever put that together. That was amazing and beautiful.
Right?
Yes.
So good. So as you at home can guess, here to talk this week all about Dungeons and Dragons, who better to have with us than Ugo, played by Ron, and James Quillis, played by Morgan.
Hello.
Hey, welcome, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
And
Thank
being
you
here.
I thank you for being here and joining our family. And this is crazy.
He had to leave his mustache at home.
I did.
He did.
The mustache has gone away for the time being.
We're gonna get into lots
We'll-
of stash
yeah,
talk
we'll get
later.
into-
So
Welcome back to
hold
Stash
on.
Talk. How you doing?
Stash talk with Morgan.
Well, oddly hosted by you, but that's fine.
You know. So sometimes you just need a host in there to keep things moving, huh? Like on Stash Talk,
Right.
the new hit show from Caffeine.
course, yep.
No, but seriously, you guys just saw that package. What did you both think of some of those moments from last week's show? Is there a particular one that stands out to you?
I mean, so many of it. I thought it was particularly cool that they led off with the grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, when Jeff Kanata starts breaking up, like, in description, there's not a dry eye in the house.
Yep.
I agree.
And, like,
I mean, you know what? Talk to me. I'm a crier.
I
Man.
felt it coming. He started and he's like, and they're on the bed. And I'm like, oh, don't you do it, Jeff. I was like, it's like, it's your grandma. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, see, but I also like, dude, the whole interaction with the seagulls. And,
wow.
And the talking.
Yeah, it was just an idea I had, and and I can only ritual cast it.
Right.
We're gonna get right into the nerdiness of D&D. I could only ritual cast that spell, so it takes 10
And you had
minutes
time.
to cast
I was
it.
growing.
So we
You
had
had
time, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with this time? Let's just gather more information and cast Speak with Animals.
Yep.
And and see if I can talk to a seagull.
Yeah.
And talk to a bird. A lot of people in chat are saying bread.
As Finding Nemo taught us, seagulls not very helpful.
I just wish it had been like fish, so I could have known what was happening next.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like half my hit points,
No,
one
he's-
hit.
Oh, right, yeah.
Highest hit points
help us out.
in D&D.
Yes.
From
Half
a
of them
fish
gone
bite.
from
Right.
a fish bite.
From a fish bite. Crazy.
You'd think a seagull would be useful somehow.
I think I can give this away. Jeff doesn't tell us that much after each
he
show.
doesn't.
But he did say, he's like, I wasn't sure I was going to use the fish encounter. He's like, but then you guys started fishing. And he's like, and trying to talk to a fish, he's like, oh, they're going to pay for this.
Ain't that how it is? It's like other people get us into trouble, and
Yep.
Uggo takes all the damage.
Yep.
But that's why he's there.
Yep.
And he loved it.
That didn't
And
go
he
so
had the
well.
mini perfectly for it and everything.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought for
Oh
sure
my.
he had planned it out.
Yeah.
Chat really wants to talk about the stash now.
Okay.
So,
Oh, yeah.
We can dive right in.
Fat Papa Power says,
Papa Power.
realist question of the week, how does Morgan feel with a clean face?
Smooth.
Wait, I mean, here, do you want to? I mean,
it feels so
thank
smooth.
you.
It's
Thank you
baby
so
smooth.
much. How do I feel with a clean face? Yeah, being a professional actor and being able to grow facial hair at a pretty good clip, my face is the changing phases of the moon. Like, I
Yeah.
keep a beard most of the time, but then I was paid to go down to a mustache for something last week. So it was literally like, okay, you want the mustache, you get it. But I don't, even though it's a good look, and I'm happy that it's been immortalized in Dungeon Run history, and who knows, maybe it'll come back at some point. I don't love the look for myself. It's not something I look at and go, yes, that's what I look like. No, I
See,
look
I
like
have
a
the
different
opposite
person.
problem where everyone wants me to look like a giant baby, so they made me shave my face.
Okay.
So if you look at the first couple of episodes of Dungeon Run,
Yeah.
I have almost no facial
Oh yeah,
hair.
you're
Yeah.
really clean
And I
shaven.
look like a big giant baby. Like
Yeah.
that's just how I look.
You know, I never
I can
thought
like,
that.
you know,
No,
I can,
no,
Well,
but-
yeah,
but
I
sure.
mean, know your role. You know, I mean, know your role.
Right,
That's our job.
exactly.
So I get real young when the facial
Yes.
hair comes off.
Right.
So that's what I mean. Like a giant baby is I look real young. So
Yeah.
I get to sometimes grow beards like this.
It looks nice.
Thank you. I appreciate
it's
that.
well-shaped.
It will be gone probably very soon.
And my beard will be on its way back very
There you
soon.
go.
So, you know.
Welcome
yeah.
to being an actor, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you allowed to say what project you were working on, or
It's
is
a
it?
it's a friend's feature film
Okay.
that took place in the 90s. That's what I'll say.
Very
yes,
cool.
yeah. I'll notify when more stuff about it is out there. But
Please
yeah.
do. Please share with
Yes,
everyone
yeah.
so we can all follow all the cool stuff that you're doing.
I did an episode of the ABC comedy The Kids Are All Right, though, with like Michael Cudlitz from Walking Dead that was set in the 70s. I had a big mustache for that, and that only aired like 6 months ago. You can find that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
If you are a fan of Morgan with a Stash, go check out.
It's out there. You can find that stuff.
I saw people on YouTube asking if the mustache gave you advantage.
Oh wow.
I think it only gives advantage to con saving throws
And charisma-based
gives me a
checks.
disadvantage on charisma checks.
Other way around.
I disagree. I disagree.
well, on Uggo, you had charisma advantage. So there you
Judging
go.
by most people's reaction to the stash, disadvantage on charisma checks. I feel like I have to apologize for it, but I
No,
haven't. You're like, I'm sorry. Just
It's a stash.
when you and I met, I had the stash,
Right.
and I was like, I'm so sorry about this. This is not how I normally look.
It might have been the first thing you said to me
Yep.
after, "Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm so
I'm
sorry
sorry."
for the stash."
I'm self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
You should not be. I thought it was a very cool, fun look.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so taking the conversation in a completely separate direction,
Yes.
Sean Patrick asks, Morgan, why do you run James to the front lines? He is a mage! Exclamation mark.
Okay,
Yeah, Uggo want to know.
Sean, all right.
Yeah, Uggo want to know.
I've
this.
seen this comment thrown around.
Ooh, so this is an
I've seen
ongoing
this.
thing.
This is not the first time I'm seeing this comment. What is he talking about? The one time it happened when we got attacked by the goblins. This
Yep.
has maybe happened once,
And you almost died for it.
and you got you were in the front line, and
Yep.
you got like pinned to a wall. So
I'm not
it
the
happened-
spellcaster.
It happened once. Fahima did it once in the tower and ran to the front,
That's
and then
right.
I took the haste
Yep.
to back her up.
Yep.
And I had darkness going,
Yep.
so I was like, the wizard is going rogue.
Uggo
Wizard's
just-
going rogue.
look-
That's something.
Uggo just wants to know why we're breaking up. Like we should
I
be
know.
together. Each other. You're like.
I know.
You have to be within 30 feet of me, otherwise I'm useless.
We haven't done. Oddly, despite our name, we haven't done like a typical dungeon crawl
Yeah, right.
where it's
No.
like, what's your marching order?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
It's almost always been we walk into a surprise. We walk into like that fight with the goblins where it was like, all right, I don't know what's happening here. It doesn't look like this is set up to be a battle. And then boom, an ogre comes into the middle of the party. And suddenly, I'm right in the middle of things. So I resent that remark slightly.
It's also a Misty Step, I think, is also.
Misty Step, now that I have it, is very helpful. Yes. But yeah.
And you can always answer too that it's bravery, it's strength of character.
But
you
they all
know?
know that that's not James.
Bravery isn't James. No, I'll be honest.
Or strength of character, even.
How dare you? How dare you? My AC is
calling it like it is.
my AC is 14, which is not great, but it's not awful.
Same as mine.
But you get nice resistances
that's
to a
true.
lot of stuff. Yeah.
But I also imagine it's a little bit of that dodgeball factor where one is a much larger moving target than the other.
True.
Yep.
There you go.
Well, in Ancestral Guardians, I mean, the whole point of Ancestral Guardians
attack me.
is hit me, hit me, you know, and
In
that's
fact,
kind of the whole
it's
point.
harder for you to hit anyone else, so
Right,
hit me.
right.
Just makes sense for you to hit me. Give you every reason to hit me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that one fight, I just happened to be, Jeff rolled real well and I got whacked. Because that all happened within 28 hit points of damage within one round.
Yeah.
And my max is 31, and it was like, it almost laid me flat immediately. Yep. Yeah.
So at this point, I want to remind everybody at home, keep the conversation going. I am reading your questions and comments all throughout the show today. Your words could come to life on this very stream. So Morgan and Ron, we just, through talking about it and examining our audience, there's a lot of loyal D&D fans who watch the Dungeon Run, but there are also folks that are rather new adventurers on this quest. I thought it might be fun to play a game to test both your knowledge and to clarify for some of our viewers out there certain words or phrases from the game, and particularly from last week's episode.
Great.
So I want to see if the two of you can spell and then define the words I'm going to say. Are you ready?
Awesome. Bring it.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at spelling.
What is a harpy?
Okay.
And specifically, what is luring song?
Harpy is a winged, it's a medium, not abomination. What's that
Monstrosity.
word? It's a medium monstrosity. The thing is, they're a lower level evil. Like they're a lower level challenge, but the luring
CR2,
song
I
is
think?
something
CR2?
like that because their AC is pretty low. They don't have a ton of hit points, but their luring song is what makes them nasty, especially if you run into them on a ship.
Yep.
It's pretty OP.
Because it's the DC, which stands for
Difficulty class.
Difficulty class is pretty low, but if you fail the DC, which Civ did,
It's 11, I think.
multiple times, you are drawn to them as if their
And you have
song
to
is.
move as short a distance as possible to them, shortest distance possible.
And like a lot of D&D monsters or creatures or lore, it's based off of, classic mythology of that idea of those creatures that would lure you with song, like sirens, which I think there was a bit of confusion or whatever about going back and forth about. But with D&D, the specific harpies have this thing called luring song, where if you hear it and you fail the DC, the wisdom DC, which is kind of like your character's ability to shake something off, like James's detect thoughts spell is a wisdom DC. Like, can you shake me out of your mind is basically.
It's also once you succeed for 24 hours, you cannot be inundated with theirs or any other luring song for 24 hours.
But so, and it's, and Jeff, I selected the harpies to kind of as a really great challenge because stuff like oozes or ogres are just big things to hit,
Hit
and
points.
they'll hit you back. Harpies are a little harder to hit. They don't have a ton of hit points, but they'll mess you up in other ways.
You gotta solve a problem by pinning someone to a sail.
And you can throw, exactly, and you can throw big things at Uggo all day because that's what he's built for.
Right.
But, I mean, well, your wisdom's okay.
My wisdom's pretty good. It's actually one of my higher scores, other than strength, obviously.
But Civ, who's one of our best fighters, has a pretty low wisdom, and so it's meant to kind of challenge you in different ways and kind of mess you up.
people who are usually the stars of the show are now I'm in trouble and I gotta figure out a thing.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should mention to our audience at home that both of you have acted as DM before.
Yes.
So while, yes, they are also very wise players, they have a lot of back history in Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Yes, I currently run 2 campaigns.
Right. I am not at the moment running something, though there is a game I'd like to pick up. I'm a fairly new DM, but I am also really detail oriented and neurotic, so I just tend to absorb this
So you're
stuff.
James. Hey man, I'm Ogden. So what do you
I
want?
did. I think I joked on Twitter the other day because there is someone there is someone who is genuinely talking about cosplaying as me at like Dragon Con, and that would be incredible, and it's very flattering. But I joked, I'm like, I cosplay as James every day.
I mean, it's kind of true. They say you either create a character that's very much like yourself or the complete opposite. So
We can talk about
I
this.
did a little bit of both, actually. We haven't gotten into Ugo's backstory, so that part we haven't really been able to see. But there's a little bit of both of that with Ugo for me.
We can get into this a bit, but I also create the character knowing that we're going to spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
Oh, hopefully, unless something bad happens.
Right.
You know, and hopefully this game will keep going and going and going. And so I wanted someone whose journey and conflict and instincts I can relate to.
right.
And so, yeah, James is like half me.
Cool.
You know, and
I'd say about that, but
and I can tell, because I do take copious notes, and I do, write things down when I, like in the weeks in between shows, I will write thoughts down that I'll have around and just like, how would James feel about X, you know, and I can tell that I'm hitting on something good when it feels like therapy.
Morgan also has the title of emails Jeff the most.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No, I felt kind of bad when I found out how little everyone else emails Jeff.
Literally
And
a
I'm
text or two.
Jeff and I back and forth so much.
And Jeff didn't complain ever.
Right.
No.
At all.
To Jeff's credit,
Yeah.
he absorbed it and was devouring it.
In fact, Jeff ever reached out to me a couple times and was like, so we should do some stuff. Do you want to like do a thing? And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, we could do a thing.
Morgan's
Like,
driving me insane over here. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's the way you guys work together
Yeah.
that makes the story come alive so well. Okay, and I have to get in our next question.
I know, we
I'm
have so many, I
I'm
know.
going to direct this one to you, Ron.
Yeah.
Spell and define, if you would, for me,
Sure.
please. Phantasmal Force.
Well, phantasmal, P-H-A-N, T-A-S-M-A-L, phantasmal force,
Good.
F-O-R-C-E.
Yes. Yes.
It's a second level illusion spell. It's vocal, somatic, and material component.
Oh, snap!
I believe its material component is a bit of fleece.
You
don't know
just
that.
know that?
Well, I'm
Minor
a big fan of
illusion is
Jason, I'm Jason and the Argonauts
Okay,
and stuff.
okay.
Anyway.
Minor
So-
illusion's a bit of fleece. I remember
Is it
that.
as well? A lot of them are.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the
is,
illusion
yes.
ones are similar kinds of material components.
very impressed. I wouldn't have been able to pull that out.
Phantasmal Force is an illusion spell. It is the first, I think, of the illusion spells that can do damage. It's 1d6 psychic damage around possible
Yep.
if they don't make the save. It's a and total encompassing illusion effect. So it's sound, smells, sights, and even to the point of physical force,
Yep.
which can do damage to you 1d6.
Right.
I believe that
sounds right.
about it. It's a wisdom save? Intelligence
It's a wisdom save.
Wisdom save.
It might be
Intelligence.
intelligence.
It might be
yeah.
intelligence. I think it
and then it's the kind of it has the it really is. I'll take a tiny bit of credit for that insane Phantasmal Force moment because the 3 spellcasters of the group, we do have our own text thread when it's just because when we level up and we're picking spells, we want to make sure we're not overlapping too much.
Of course.
And so I almost took Phantasmal Force, and but I had to swap it out for something else, and I was like, Katie, you would love this spell.
Yeah.
and rightfully so. I was like, look at Phantasmal Force. It's literally a spell that rewards you for being more imaginative.
Yep.
Like
Right.
if you can think of something weird.
A lot of
and-
the illusion spells are like that.
Yeah.
Even minor illusion is like that. If you've got, it's one. It's one sense, sight,
Right.
sound, smell, whatever. But if it's good enough, man, like
And we saw
works.
what happened.
Yeah.
That was
that was insane.
insane.
It was insane. Okay, now for all of the points,
Yes.
can one or both of you get into character and use these terms in a sentence?
Ugo loves
Certainly.
Lily because she used phantasmal force to kill a harpy.
Well done.
Thanks.
Well done, well done.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, the harpy was being quite uncouth in its attacks on us.
does that
and,
mean?
It's a word that it's sort of rude. Rude is another word for it.
James.
Yes. What? I'm not rude.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I'll go this too sometimes.
What? When am I rude?
I'll go.
Well, okay, all right.
I didn't say it was a word. I didn't say you don't mean it. I mean,
All right, I'm dropping character. What? I knew this was going to happen.
Real. Guys, this isn't Jerry Springer. It's okay.
No, it was. I think it was episode 3 when you and I looked at each other and went, "You and I are going to butt heads
Of course.
occasionally. This is going to
Look,
happen."
It's gonna happen, and it
Yep.
happens in
Sure.
real life.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of friends where we butted heads.
Yep.
But we grew together,
Yeah.
right? So it's that.
No, and there was immediate communication between us. It's like, oh, these people aren't always going to get along.
Right, and was more of a thing. Also, you have to, especially as an improviser. Like,
Right.
that was a hard scene. You okay?
Yes,
'Cause
there was a
I'm
moment
okay.
of that.
Yeah.
The first time,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
episode 3, when
Yeah.
you had that very heartfelt apology to me,
Yeah.
and I responded kind of strangely.
Yeah.
I had a moment. I think the break was shortly after that, and you and I had kind of a sidebar.
Yeah.
Because I was like, just so you know, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And
I enjoyed it a lot.
took me way back, or it took me off my heels a little
Right.
bit. And so I was like, so just know that if you feel I didn't respond well, that's all character, and
Right.
that'll pay off.
Oh, for sure.
And it did
Yes,
eventually
yeah.
already,
And will
so
continue to do so, I am sure.
agreed.
All of the hearts and all of the feels, and all of the congratulations
Thank you.
to both of you for kicking this game right on. I was going to say kicking me out of the ballpark, but that
Nailed
doesn't
it.
make
I
sense.
gotta be honest, the only reason I was so sharp with Phantasmal Force is because Lily used it last
Yep,
game, and I
yep.
was like, oh man, that's a really great spell.
That's a good one.
That's that spell.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
That's why.
Just because I'm curious now, is the bit of fleece consumable?
Yes,
No.
most material. Is it not?
It's not consumed by the spell.
Oh, right. Most
Nope.
material isn't unless it's over 100 gold pieces or something like that.
Not necessarily. It'll always say. It'll always
Isn't
say
your
like.
identify pearl consumed in the
No,
process?
it's not. Thank God.
Really?
Yeah. No. You just
Oh.
need 100 GP
Just need
pearl,
one of them
and then you'll
forever.
just need it.
Cool.
But like, Fine Familiar uses like 50 gold of incense every time or something.
So you would just need like, I don't know, a bag full of
Yeah,
pearls or
incense.
incense.
Yeah,
it would
yeah.
be crazy. It
I
would be
largely,
crazy.
as a DM, kind of get away
Right.
from the material stuff
Right.
unless it's over 100 gold.
Or yeah,
because
unless you start
it
getting into
gets-
like Revivify
Right.
and Raise the Dead.
Just use the
Hey.
focus and be good with it.
Yeah.
Fifth edition, it's up
Right.
to you,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's the
Right.
way it works.
Right.
All right.
We are
Well, again,
hardcore
congratulations,
nerding
guys.
stuff. This is
We
like we
are.
just talked about material components for like 2 minutes.
That's what the Dungeon Rundown
No,
is about.
I love it,
That's our
and I
place
love
to
that it's
do
happening,
this.
and this is surreal. I can't believe this is happening. Sorry.
No,
I'm over
don't
here
be
pinching
sorry.
myself.
Taking it
I
in.
love it. So I know that everybody in chat right now is really excited to recap last week's show.
Yes.
But before we go super deep and do that, take a second to freshen up on this moment. Take a look.
One thing with Phantasmal Grasp is going to actually attempt to pull the seagull out of its own mouth. So it's going to reach in with a large talon in its own mouth and dig deep.
Oh!
Pull the seagull that doesn't actually exist
Oh!
out of its own mouth. So it's going to take
Oh my god.
self-inflicted talon attack. And that, I mean, it was gonna hit anyway, right? It's not like she's gonna miss herself.
Right.
This is our own face.
That is bad for her.
Wow.
I love that the benefit of Phantasmal Force is that you describe it enough.
You get more damage.
Right. No, it's a really imaginative, scary.
17 points of damage on that,
Whoa!
which actually kills her. So she reaches in her own mouth and tries to get the seagull and can't find it and is freaking out and pulling and ripping and scratching and tearing, and you see her own mouth get frayed and sliced open, and she's just digging and tearing into herself, and it goes down in a confused, gory mess into the water, splash, and out of sight.
Wow.
That is one of the more disturbing D&D deaths I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness, that death.
Wow.
We're a family show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Didn't know
know.
if you knew that. We're family friends.
Not grotesque or gory in
No.
description
No.
at all, but
No.
you know what? It's not shown.
No, no.
That's right.
Yeah, we're fine.
I mean, I was 9, I think, when I first saw the old Greek and Roman mythology claymation films, and those were really like violent.
I was like 4 when I was
Yeah.
watching Neverending Story
Yeah, right.
every day.
Neverending
Like,
Story.
yo, my God.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it again for a long time, and
Yeah.
then like 5-10 years ago, I watched it. I was like, whoa, that is really intense.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and it's probably why most of us are as disturbed as
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah,
today.
yeah, the
Here
Death
we
of Shadow
are.
Facts, for sure. Yeah, Death of Shadow Facts.
So last week's Dungeon Run definitely had everybody talking, from the Tardy Plunder harpy fight that we just saw to Claudette giving the magic quill,
Yes.
to James attempting to talk to animals, and the phantasmal VSM bit of fleece force seagull stuff that we saw in the funeral, and
Self-tracheotomy.
Right, self-tracheotomy. That's exactly what we'll call it moving forward. I think
Harpyotomy.
it sounds a little less violent that way. Last week's episode was incredibly action-packed. I saw some people in chat saying that it may have been one of their favorite episodes so far.
Awesome.
All of the feels. So Ron, if you had to pick a favorite moment from the show, what would it be?
Last episode.
From last episode's show.
Probably when Lily met Grandma. That's my favorite. Not just because it's heartfelt, because of course that's easy to like, but I think for me it was the first time that Uggo really got to just, Uggo, this is not time for Uggo to be orc. This is time for Uggo to be human and listen. Yeah. So that's, sorry, it's easy.
That's
Uggo
good.
likes the Buddha. Yeah.
That's nice.
So for me, that's really what it was. It was the moment where I got to, like, it's a chance for Uggo to learn something he didn't know before.
Cool.
And I think that was why, you know, there's a little bit of a conversation about like, why is Uggo not so like, vocal about what's going on? And especially with Lily, you would think he would be, involved in this. Well, here's the thing. When I had family members who passed away from other people's family members who passed away, for me, it's
Yeah.
listen.
Yep.
That's what Uggo is doing. Listen.
Yeah, that's super real. Thank
Yeah.
you for bringing
Yeah,
that to the
just-
story. That's cool.
That is my MO.
Yeah.
My MO with Uggo is we're telling stories.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna bring you real stuff. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's happy-go-lucky, sometimes it's real.
No, I think that was something that we all connected on
Yeah.
pretty immediately. Because
Absolutely.
as is talked about before, we did not know each other before all this started,
Right.
which is insane. And it's insane. We constantly are shaking our heads that this is all going so well.
It feels surreal. It really, you nailed it. It feels like,
Yeah.
am I in a dream?
No,
right
no,
now?
no.
'Cause it feels like a dream.
We do episode 13 tomorrow. I watched part of episode 1 this weekend, and it feels like years ago already.
Right?
And in a good way.
Yes.
Yeah. And so.
You guys have been through a lot together.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think there was an immediate desire amongst all of us to listen and have patience and give to each other in our stories, which is an improvisation thing, but it's also an actorly thing, and it's a human thing. And I think we all kind of like things a little messy. In that I mean, there's certain adventure stories where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go and well, see that dragon, okay, kick down that door, okay, and it's just sort of like, no, let's actually like play these things. It's more satisfying. It's more creatively fulfilling if we're being honest about it.
And I love when your heroes have flaws.
Oh, yeah.
Superman, great hero.
Yeah.
Not a lot of flaws. Not a whole lot of them. Really, not a whole lot.
One very famous one.
I mean,
Right.
yes, for sure.
Right.
Yes, for sure. But just not a whole lot of them.
Sure.
Right? So
Fair.
one famous one that is more of like, oh, well, we need to give him some weakness so that
thing,
he's not,
this rock.
invincible.
Right.
So there's this green rock, okay?
Right. But then give me someone like Deadpool or Batman,
Sure.
and those individuals they have to overcome their own flaws, whether it's darkness or insanity or anything. That is something people can relate to more, right? Your hero story. That's what we're telling, right? The hero's journey.
Yeah.
That's our story. That's every person's story. So we all have flaws.
But it's also part of going back to how James and I are very similar. How in back episode 2, I think it was, where we're about to walk into the first Lodestar, and in my head I'm going, there is no way James is just walking in there as if this is a Tuesday. It's just like, what are we doing? I was a librarian 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, this is nuts. And I think, yeah, there is a side to that, and the fact that I was kind of able to do that and feel supported was amazing, but it was just kind of like, no, this isn't right. Like, this is crazy. And we've had other various, things of that where it's just like struggling with the insanity of the situation we're in. Civ and mine's conversation last week was a lot about that. It's like how we didn't buy into this.
Right.
And I loved that Jared said, he's like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. I would have left. And the fact that he put that out there, you didn't hear that.
No, of course I know.
You
gotta tell me. No idea what you're talking about.
The fact that Jared put that out there was like, and James respected it because I don't think he feels exactly the same way, but he can absolutely see that point of view.
Right, and you guys are doing a really great job in those private moments of reminding the viewers that you were a librarian 2 weeks ago, and Lily was, serving drinks on an island, and like everybody is very new to all of the insanity that's happening around them.
I love, it's why I love that the show started, we were at level 2, and because we get to tell our origin story, and we get to play all these things, and we get to feel the growth that James has had these moments where he's starting to feel more powerful and starting to throw it around a little bit. If
that's just good D&D though, right? Letting it be organic in a group of people is improv, but it's D&D too. Like, as much as Jeff prepares, as much as any DM prepares, it very rarely goes like you plan.
No,
right?
of course
Just
not.
like life.
Never,
very rarely goes like you plan.
But in fact, if it did go as you planned, it probably means you didn't have a very good session.
Exactly, and probably a little boring a little bit, right?
Probably.
For sure. So it's that. It's we get the opportunity to be a little messy with it, which is why I love the way you put that. It allows us to be messy, and that's real.
Because humans, it's funny, we were talking about classical theater before the show started.
Yes.
And it's why I love, it's why I love Shakespeare, it's why I love fantasy, because even though it may feel very different, it's just a different way of communicating the same shared human experiences. And whether you're a human warlock, whether you're an orc, whether you're a gnome, whether you're a tabaxi, whether you're anybody, our experiences are similar and they can be the same, and it's empathy, and that's why I love the storytelling. Because it takes the metaphor of these very different people on the surface, on their face. I'm standing next to a cat man fighting this thing.
You are,
but it's what he's dealing with, I can relate to. Morgan, the person, can relate to. And that's why, and hopefully the viewers can relate to it as well. I
think so. I think that's why they come back.
I hope so. I hope so. And Jared pointed it out privately to me at one point, which was the fact that I'm the only human in the group. He pointed out early on, he's like, I love that you're the only human, but you're probably the most messed up of us. And I was like, bingo, nailed it. He's like, that is not an accident.
I'm watching, and folks in chat are actually, you guys mentioned telling your origin stories through the story, but people really want to know more about your character's origin story.
Sure.
So without giving anything away that you have a well-timed way to divulge on the show later, please give us
Let's hope it's well-timed. It's just gonna happen by accident.
Which is always how it works, and then it seems well-timed because you do it so beautifully. But Shady Sheba asks, how did a librarian become a warlock?
Sure. I mean, I've talked about it in game a bit. They're not to give anything away, but if there are things about James that don't add up to you, that's correct. There are things about him that don't make a lot of sense. I designed him to feel like a wizard, but he isn't. He comes from a place where a lot of wizards come from, but he was sort of not allowed to do that.
Right.
And I think he has a lot of anger and resentment and isolation about that, and he turned to maybe a faster way to get some power of his own. The metaphor that I loved with James, that I think when I fell on it, I was like, oh, that's good, he's an angry, marginalized guy who picked up a weapon he shouldn't. And he picked it up with good intentions. He's a bullied guy who wants to help other bullied people. but he's in trouble, man. And I'm breaking up a little bit talking about it.
Yeah.
It's real. It's no, pardon me. Yeah.
This is how much we care, guys. This is how much.
Yeah,
we care.
this is super real.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's had some had not treated very well and left alone for a long time, and and you're told that you can't have this thing of your own, that you can't have these powers of your own, and
when you get it.
But he's also a really smart guy, so he found some
Yeah.
ways, and this isn't giving away too much. James is very smart. He's not as smart as he thinks he is.
Okay.
As a flaw, on your character sheet, they have what ideals, bonds, and flaws. That's almost James's number one flaw. He's smart. He's not as smart as he thinks he is.
Yeah, Uggo's not so smart. I think we've all kind of figured that out. He's wise, and we've heard a little bit about his backstory. You've seen how Uggo responds to other orcs.
Right.
So that's very obviously flash in the pan kind of stuff. And Uggo has admitted that he has killed his father. So
that was a huge moment.
Yep, there's some.
That still hasn't.
It has not. It has not. So it's a little different because Uggo Ron has his viewpoints on what orcs are. More of like in the Lord of the Rings feel of orc, where they're savages, right? They're
baddies.
They're bad, right?
Yeah.
They're monsters. I like the concept that maybe not all of them are monsters, or that they are, and that a lot of them are human, and maybe just misunderstood because they grew up in a savage environment. And so it's that discovery for me. That I can relate to. I grew up in a savage environment, and it taught me some things by showing me what not to do. That's Uggo for me. Uggo is learning what not to do, because sometimes that's easier to figure out than, well, what do I do right now?
Yeah.
Well, I know what not to do. Uggo no talk. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
Simple, intelligence-based simplicities, but then the greater meaning is much easier for him to be quiet because people have hearts and they want to be heard, and that makes them feel loved.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Last week, Morgan, you mentioned, I think, bringing up the idea of using the spyglass to spy on Lily's family.
It was actually Fahima's idea to use it. It was a good idea.
I am so glad you said that, because the way that it was shot in the episode, I thought I saw her lean over and whisper something to you right before you did it, and I thought, thank you for clarifying that that's what happened.
No, yeah.
Now, is this because you think there's a reason Lily's family needs to be watched?
Oh.
There's some fan theories online right now from our viewers.
I love there are fan theories.
That maybe Grandma is not what she appears to be.
So let's get into metagaming.
Yeah.
Morgan, the player, might think that. I don't think James thinks that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think James was very moved by everything that happened in front of him and meeting this family of little lilies. I don't know for sure. As I think Katie talked about last week, we've learned not to try to anticipate what Jeff's going to do to us. He surprises us every time.
Yep.
Right.
And so I'm kind of just keeping it all kind of in the mist of like what could happen.
Yeah.
And sure, that could happen. No, but that was more of a we have a way to know if you're in danger, and let's do that. And it was also wanting to give Lily a peace of mind as well. Like, we can keep an eye on them.
So totally altruistic.
Yes. Yeah. James is not evil, guys. He may use some dark powers. He's not evil.
We know there's some trust issues there. And I mean, Lily's grandma is telling everyone to stay on this island where people are getting murdered every single night instead of going to the escape boat that's right over there.
Yeah, but I also bought this is the only home you've ever known. That's not an unfamiliar story.
Okay.
Like that's happened. You know?
And I think that's where maybe people felt a sense that Uggo should say something. Because
Okay, yeah.
Uggo, just to give some realization, and I think it's okay, because that was a moment where Uggo goes, "That's dumb. That's stupid. You have no leg. That's because there's nobody here to help you. You should leave."
Yeah.
But not his place.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's some cool insight into what was
Not
going on
his
in
place.
Uggo's
Especially when you
brain.
talk about, I'm sorry, especially when you talk about Lily and her family, I think Bingle is part of their identity. And so when you're being asked to just evacuate and get out, we see that with natural disasters all the time. People not wanting to leave their homes.
And people, I think, like, realize that all of the tragic things that have happened to Lily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally every one of them.
Yeah.
She almost died, which brought us all together, moved me to tears. All these things. Bingle, in the Knick-Knack of Doom, like everything that's occurred has happened to Lily. So.
But as you talked about last week, the Knick-Knack of Doom was not that big of a problem for her.
No, for her, it was actually
fine.
kind of a vacation.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Big problem for Uggo.
Right,
that was a big problem.
Very
we got through that. We got through it. We sure did. So it's that. I think a lot of it is giving the tragedies that has happened to the person that you don't want the tragedies to happen to, right? Like Lily is like this innocent. She devotes her life to making others happy.
Right.
Right? I think everyone, regardless of who you are, when you see that somebody's genuinely devoting their life to making others happy, like.
I mean, for Jeff, though, it's like, what's the quickest way to make it real and to give the stakes of what we're dealing
Raise
with?
The stakes, yep. Absolutely.
And
every time he does. And I love that because that is a gift to every player.
Yeah.
Every player, raising the stakes.
Yeah.
And if you do it back to the DM, it's even greater gift.
Agreed.
Because it's going to come back to you.
Yes.
Tenfold, if not.
And Jeff mentioned on last week's Dungeon Rundown that it's not like he intentionally has Lily as the target
Right.
every time.
Right.
It just keeps happening
keeps
like
happening.
that,
Yeah.
which is absolutely crazy. So while we all take a moment to digest all of that, please turn up the volume and take a look at this.
So you guys approach the restaurant, Bingle and loving it. Lily, this is the place that you worked all growing up.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that right now. The doors almost never close. This place stays open real late. People are happy and jovial going in and out. The beach nights are warm, and so people often sit outside and drink and watch the sunset. This is none of that. This is closed, boarded. There's
no one to be seen.
No one to be seen. There's white paint on the side in small letters that says closed. And that's what you're seeing right now is just
Jeff, just a clarity with the 23 survival check-ins.
Yeah.
None of those were fresh?
I would say that some of them are fresh. Yes. I would say that they're
within 8 hours, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. There are things here.
Yes.
These tracks have been here. They're fresh.
But they may have left.
Can you tell what they were?
Too many. Dragging lots of things.
Well,
Look like maybe take people.
we don't have a lot of time. As soon as it gets dark, things are going to get sticky.
Not already inside. It's dark in there.
I go up to the door and I'll knock.
Okay.
And then I'll sing just this little kind of cautiously. I come from the land of Bingle, where travelers come to mingle. Welcome to our island of constant play. My name is Lily. How can I help you today?
Lily? Oh, hey, Lily, Lily! And you hear from behind the back of the restaurant, you hear sounds of wood being dropped, and you see a couple of people that emerge blonde. They look like little lilies. It's like a couple of other lilies.
The music makes it so much more emotional too. I'm feeling these emotions all over again watching this. It's absolutely crazy.
Immediate investment. Like it was, it's, and Jeff did such an amazing job creating this, we've created this image of Bingle in our minds, but then also there was I do a lot of work in horror films. There was the horror filmmaker part of me that was like, ooh, this is good.
Yeah.
Like pulling into Bingle
Absolutely.
and the sign with the scroll turned back. I was like the horror filmmaker Morgan was like, ooh, that's good, Jeff.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
The abandoned vacation spot.
Just a bunch of tracks on the beach and dragging. Ooh.
It's like an abandoned carnival.
I'm a fan.
Great place to put a horror film.
Yeah.
Great place.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
super cool. I'm very excited excited for tomorrow actually watching that again.
Right? So moving forward to the horror film that could be tomorrow.
Yeah.
We only have one day left until the next dungeon run.
Yeah.
And there are so many possibilities as to where you guys could go from here.
Yeah.
So I asked you, Morgan and Ron, viewers, they are asking from last week to maybe spin some theories and predictions and let us know if you guys have any particular theories about where this is going to go.
I do. I think we have to go to Old Pal and we have to see exactly what we're looking at. It's so funny. I've gotten so used to keeping all my secrets. So to talk about this now, the fact that we came across a hybrid fish crab in a boat.
You did.
And
Monstrosity.
We've met hybrid created animals in the past. Nightmare pegacorn. Makes me think that this is connected to Urtenfurt or Urtenfurt's friends.
Ooh, I like that.
I think that there is a nega natural order, the unnatural order. That's what I think. Maybe not the name of it, but something like that.
Yeah.
Where there is a group of individuals who are tired of being lied to.
Right.
Okay.
Because the secrets are being kept and they want transparency and they want to know what's going on. And sometimes the worst villains have good intentions.
But even the story about going to getting bodies from the graveyards and everything like that. Yeah. Like those are people making experimentations.
Yeah.
Those are people who need raw materials to make stuff.
Ooh,
and
that's
so
an interesting
I'm like,
theory.
So it started with Urtenfurt, where it's like machinations and ooze and these weird aberrations, and now it's sea monsters and monstrosities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Music Man 77 in chat says, I think that the Typhoon Warden's captor is controlling the monsters.
Probably.
That's very possible.
Just like Urtenfurt.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. We got a level up coming too. We got level 5 is coming soon.
I cannot
We've been
wait for
level 4 for a little bit. And
we're due.
We may have nudged Jeff. Hey, Jeff, it's time.
Yeah,
and he's like,
might
no,
be.
not yet. I'm like, all right.
XP total say maybe time.
And I'm not keeping track. I trust Jeff.
Yeah, I'm not.
but for
It's also milestone he told me. so,
Right.
yeah.
Right. For folks newer to D&D out there, I mean, you can very mathematically calculate
Yes.
your XP at the end of the adventure, but Jeff tends to do it by major story
I
milestones
prefer doing
instead.
it that way too.
Yeah.
There's already a lot of math in D&D.
Yeah.
I don't need more.
I am a firm, and I love the XP growth. Now I will do my own milestones things if they have if a group has found that milestone on their own, rather than one I'm just going to deliver to story.
Yeah.
So if you find a milestone that's there and on your own without me kind of delivering it to you, that'll be a level up. But for the most part, no, you're fighting monsters, man. You're gonna fight monsters to level
what
up.
you do.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
And every time you level, the next level is then harder to achieve.
Correct.
So it takes longer and longer.
And it grows harder and harder and harder.
Right.
And that's one of the things I try to tell people, especially new players, is like, first 5 levels are gonna go like that.
Sure.
Right.
After that, long time.
You got to work for it.
Yep.
And you guys are adequately working
Yes,
for
we
it.
are, for
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I mean, other things about tomorrow, like I think we've got probably like a few hours till sundown, and that's going to be kind of a race to gather information and figure things out.
I mean, if we get to the point where it's nighttime and they're storming the beaches and we got to get out, you might see Uggo turn into a monster.
Interesting.
You might see Uggo go full monster.
If I'm being honest, I think James is probably on the side of help. If they want to stay, let them stay, and we'll help them stay.
Ooh, okay.
Which is surprising to me. But even as it was happening last week, I was like, all right, like this is what I got this power to do. You know, I've been, beaten down enough that like these people need help.
If that happens, I don't know. Uggo's probably going to be more of a,
You need to wake up and realize that you staying here is hurting your own family.
Very practical.
And that is that's on you.
Well, this is why it's so good that we have all these different opinions.
Yeah.
Now, chat, both on YouTube and on Caffeine, are dying to talk about this issue, which, Uggo, you may or may not be aware of. I'm not sure.
What?
Is there a love triangle
Oh, no.
heating up between Civ, Lily, and Uggo? So, Ron, Uggo's like
I'll go
right in the middle of this. What do you
Who does
think?
Civ love?
Is something happening?
You know, here's kind of what I'll say. At first, I wasn't sure. At first, because I don't know, I don't know. There's a thin line between that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Love is a thin line in many, many different ways, in my own experience. But then it got to the point where people were like, no, Uggo's too brotherly. And I went, I think you're putting Uggo in an underdog state. That just because he's dumb doesn't mean he can't woo. And just because that he's got some darkness and he'd rather like beat things up than talk heart to heart doesn't mean that he can't love.
And as a follow-up to that, Tatank84 says, how does Uggo feel that Lily totally overlooked his love poem?
That may have been done on purpose.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does
that
that mean?
What does that mean?
Well, Uggo knows that Lily doesn't know orc. He knows that.
Oh.
Got it.
Why would he put in a poem? Why would anyone put a poem about love in a language to the person that they love that they don't understand?
Yes.
Got it.
Why would anyone do that?
Understood.
Yeah.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very wily.
Yeah, well, more of
Yeah.
Wily of Ron, yes. Uggo's part of that isn't that complex of a thought. It's more of a, I don't understand human words great.
So you
No
feel
orc
more
real
comfortable
well. Yes.
expressing your feelings
Yes.
in orc.
I don't know if you fully answered the question, though, about the love triangle. I know, I'm here to give the people what they want.
How about you ask Uggo? How about we let that fall out in play?
Okay, I like that. Let's
that.
let that fall out in play.
Let's let that fall out in
play.
to,
Inside the
to
actor's
go, I just got a comment saying Civ knows orc.
Civ very
He
well.
does that.
And
That got
Ron knows
left
that.
out.
Yes, it does.
That got left out is
Yes,
that
it
Civ
did.
understood that poem.
Yes, it did.
Even if
That's
Lily
why
did
I
not.
went to the extra effect of saying, Civ, you know this means this thing. So here's the thing. I have found ways. I love this with I have given myself a personal challenge with Uggo, which is play dumb, but be wise. That's a personal challenge for me. It's something I love doing.
Yeah.
I'm not always good at it. I try real hard and I'm working at it. But what I really love is I come up with wily things because I'm wily sometimes.
Sure.
But then I have to find out, well, is this something that Uggo can do? Can I explain it in Uggo terms? So there are some times where it looks like a smart, so for example, just to give you guys an insight, and I love this, I'm gonna let this out because I love that this was going on. So when I use the grappling hook to get a harpy and run it towards the pole to knock it out, Ron knew that would probably happen because I understand physics. Uggo doesn't understand physics. That was literally, got the harpy, it'll die, okay, let's go, got other things to do.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it was gonna happen. Uggo did not know that was gonna happen. He just forgot to let go. Because that's what a dumb person would do.
Well, and it worked out perfectly.
Exactly. That's the point I'm in, is like, I have to find a way that I'm wily and I like to do cool things, but how do I explain this in a character? How do I make this work and not feel unauthentic to the character?
Yeah, and the intelligence wisdom differentiation is an important one. I had a DM way back in the day explain it to me as intelligence will tell you whether or not it is raining.
Right.
Wisdom tells you to get the umbrella
Right.
or to get out of the rain. And it's an important distinction.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't put complex things together, but if it feels hard, I can understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it goes like there's a lot of grumbling that that nature is an intelligence-based skill and not a wisdom skill. It's like as someone put it, it's like you may be able to tell some things about that tree, but you don't know what it's called. You don't know its kingdom, phylum, class, and order,
Sure.
which is sort of like that's what nature is. If you want to know if you can eat it, that's survival.
Totally.
It's like
Which
that's
is
the
why when in that clip, you see Uggo going, oh, there's people here 8 hours ago. There's a lot of them. They're dragging me because that's survival.
Yeah.
I know what happened. Couldn't tell you what they were doing or why, but yeah.
Okay, and the last thing I will poke the bear about the Uggo Lily thing is poke the orc. Yeah, thank you for that, Morgan. The last thing I'll poke the orc about is, so some viewers on YouTube I noticed commented that there may have been some tension or some awkwardness, and you kind of spoke to
Yeah,
this
I
a little
spoke a little bit,
earlier
yeah.
in this episode. But was there anything that maybe happened in real life before the last episode that maybe caused Uggo to take a step back?
Katie and
or-
I are in fist fights. When you guys are not around,
Totally.
we are fist fighting.
Pies in the face.
Pies in the face. Actually, I was talking to my partner Heather, and Heather really loves Lily. Like, that's one of her favorites. So we were talking about, and Heather said, "You and Katie are just so alike. You guys, like, we're both happy-go-lucky. Like, as people, we just love people. So there's no, I promise you, there is no tension between Katie and I because
In real life.
in real life
Yep.
at all. And I'm the kind of person that if Katie and I had tension, we probably know it because I would say, hey, we've got a little bit of tension here going on. I'm just that kind of person.
Yeah.
So no, I think what people might be feeling and sensing is, I think you nailed it a little earlier, is that I think people forget that though Uggo is an orc, he doesn't like caves. He
Okay.
doesn't like the dark all
Okay.
the time. He's
So
got dark
going down
vision.
in there with
so
the
going into a
family,
cramped
yeah.
when it's gnome sized and
Right.
you're 6'5",
Right.
the size you
I think
carry
you can
the things
actually-
of a troll.
If you go back
Okay,
and you watch the
yeah.
episode, if you watch the episode and when we go down in there, you start to hear Ron grumble, and you didn't get to voice anything about it just because obviously more things took over.
Yeah. Well, it's also Uggo's not going to complain when Grandma's got no leg. Uggo's like, it's too tight in here. Too tight in here. Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah. Like, for example, on the ship, I slept in the boat because he didn't want to be in
Oh
the
yeah,
hull.
you went upstairs.
Of course not.
Uh-huh.
Also, what are people's peepers? That's right. What are people's expectations of Lily? She had a lot going on.
Right.
I think some of the stuff that I read, not all of it, but some of it was sensing maybe some like out of the game meta stuff where maybe Jeff was like, hey, Uggo, I need you to take a step back so that other
Jeff has
characters
never
can...
said that to me.
Right, and that's what I thought too.
He would
but
never.
I'm glad,
He wouldn't do that.
I'm glad we got the clarification on Rundown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking as someone who talks to Jeff the most in between games, no, I don't. I don't. It's only times. It's only times.
Yeah.
Like it was when we were headed back to Turles, that episode when we got to Turles at the end of the very episode. That week I emailed Jeff so much because I was like, I'm getting blasted with backstory next week and I need to make sure I know all the details.
And I think that happens with I'm pretty sure Katie did the same thing when Bingle came
Right.
around. And if we go to Thorn at all, I'm sure that'll be the same with me, where it's like, okay, we've got some. I don't know what's going to happen, but we need to get our backstory straight and make sure we know what's true and real.
And it's also wanting to, like, a little bit play the host with the other characters, where it's not just, I don't want to be turning to Jeff and going, so what's this?
Right.
So who's
Right, of
that?
course.
What's happening?
Right.
I want it to be like, oh, well, this is this, this is that. I wanted to have it there in my, like, immediate access.
And I can completely understand that and love that you did that, because then it makes it feel more natural and organic again, where this is where James came from, clearly, because he's like, oh no, that's this guy, that's this guy, that's that guy. Oh man, that guy, no, you know, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of metagaming and what you know as a player versus what your character would know, I have a question here from I Am Robin Nicole, who said, confession time, did either of you watch any of the other players' secret scenes with Jeff after the show?
You and I are the only ones who haven't had secret scenes.
Yeah.
No, I have not.
Yay!
The only thing I've seen, so there is an edited clip of someone using Billie Eilish's Bad Guy over clips of Civ.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I did see that.
Amazing
And I
and
did see that.
hilarious. And there are 2 snapshots of Jeff and Civ that over there that you can't really tell what's happening, just them standing close to each other. No, I have not watched it.
I have not either. I think I
watched those-
figured it out, but I don't.
Okay.
I think I figured it out, but I have not watched.
I love that.
My wife asked, she's like, what do you think happens? And I was like, I don't know. And I took a guess and she was like, interesting. And
Great.
she's not telling me.
Good
I
poker
don't know
face
anything.
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's good.
There was actually a little bit of that on YouTube, I think, when people are like, you guys shouldn't watch this. You guys shouldn't watch this. And I'm like, well, yes, we agree with you.
Yeah, no,
we're generally
click
trustworthy
right past
people.
that part.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where like I don't want to watch and know that because
of course
I want
not.
it to be natural and organic when I respond to it.
It was funny because before the game started, we were talking to each other about our characters and everything, and I felt like the most withdrawn out of that conversation, where there was even part of like talking about each other's backstories. Oh, well, so my person, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, huh, interesting. Like not sharing anything. Being the real warlock of the group going like, cool, cool. James is a human.
Yep. So what do you think that James's biggest obstacle moving forward into next episode is going to be based on everything we just went through?
I'll go.
I did have a question here at some point asking, from the Leaping Panther, if Jeff ended up killing James or Uggo, how would you feel about it?
Oh,
I mean,
Awful.
I think, yeah, probably devastated.
I think we all would.
yeah, I think everyone would be. Yeah.
You know, so it's a balance of, we know there need to be stakes. We know that there needs to be the danger of us dying. I don't want it to happen. I've spent a lot of time on James and have hopefully a lot further that I'd like to go with him.
So you don't see it happening next episode?
I wouldn't say not happening.
Right.
I would say here's the thing I love about Jeff is when Uggo went overboard, it was like, didn't plan for that one.
Nope.
Nobody planned for that.
No, I did not know Jeff at all before we started this show, and so getting to know Jeff's been very interesting, and I'm starting to be able to tell when things are happening that he did not expect.
Yep.
And that was one of them.
Yes, it
where
was.
He's like, uh-oh.
Yes, especially when you're doing
I'm
it.
starting to get to know Jeff's uh-oh face.
And the best part is we're sitting, when you're the player and you realize that your DM just went uh-oh in their own
Yeah,
head.
not
yeah,
good.
not
You go,
to everybody,
okay.
to himself.
This might actually be something that I have to do. And for me, it was cool. I'm gonna lean into the danger.
Right. But then
Yep.
the other side of that too, though, is Jeff's so positive and energetic, and he's so amazing that when he gets dark, like with the seagull,
That was nuts.
or when he was going to kill Nance
Yes.
Yeah.
in the library,
Yeah.
Yep.
it stuns me every time. When Jeff goes, maybe I'll get numb to it eventually, but like whenever Jeff has gone like ratcheted up the stakes, it almost always surprises me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Catches you off guard with it.
Because Jeff is Jeff.
Yeah.
He's
Jeff is also the same guy who cries as
Right.
Lily's grandmother.
exactly, and then he's
family.
like, and then they cut the throat of the nice librarian lady, and I'm like, what?
No, he did not.
I think you can go back and watch the episode. I went, whoa,
Yeah.
and I think I almost said a dirty word because I was like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
And I was and my blood brother over here, quick thinking, and saved her life.
Yeah.
And the force of good saved her life.
Yeah.
And rough.
Yeah, and a follow-up from the Leaping Panther, then when you get into those situations and miraculously make it out of them, do you think that Jeff is going too easy on you guys?
Oh, so I do not envy Jeff his job at all. Being a DM is hard enough. Being a DM in our game, with all of the other balls being juggled, is insane.
Yeah, force of good, force of evil, advantage, disadvantage,
So-
all coming from the Watchers of the Time Stream.
There are things that Jeff is still figuring out as to how to, like challenge rating is out the window.
Yeah.
With
Right.
our
Oh,
game.
yeah, for sure.
And so it's
Right out the window.
So I think there's some testing.
Yeah.
As we go, and
Which is
maybe
hard
we
for
will
him.
have to run away from some fights coming up where it's like, nope, that fight was too powerful.
Absolutely.
You know.
The thing about D&D is that even if you run from the fight, if you survived it, you get that XP.
True.
Yep. So for me, it's more of, as a DM myself, death does not serve the purpose of the story unless there's a reason.
Right.
Or unless it forwards the tale of the story.
Right.
So I know Jeff, by what he's talked about, that for him, story is king. And so in that case, you know, he's not going easy on us. He's saying this doesn't fit the story right now. So, and in the end, it's your job as the DM to give them some outs.
There's a constant
Defined.
jumping in and out of like big picture and small picture
Right.
that with us that we do a lot. And small picture is when I'm just in James's head and I'm playing James and how would he respond to this. The big stuff is, and that mind would hate it if James dies, obviously.
Yeah.
If but big picture knows that if that happens, that could also be extremely interesting for the story.
Right.
It could be.
One of my favorite quotes is from Hook, and it's "Death is but the next greatest adventure."
Aww.
I think Robin Williams probably would.
Oh.
I think a lot of people tweeted that when Robin passed. So we talked about some long game predictions and where you think we're going in a couple episodes from now, but let's talk specifically about tomorrow night's episode. What are your predictions of what's going to happen tomorrow night? And get as wild and crazy as you want. Like, where is this going to go, in your opinion?
I think it's possible the first half of the show could be a straight gearing up montage for a battle that's going to happen when the sun goes down, and I'm ready. I'm looking forward to it, to be
I
honest.
feel like it's going to be a kidnapping.
Oh no!
I feel like that's what's going to happen. Is
Who's getting kidnapped?
I think we're going to get overrun, and we're going to be kidnapped, and then it's going to be get out alive.
Ooh,
That's what I think.
interesting.
I think that would be cool.
Okay.
Get kidnapped underwater. What do we do now? Like, I don't. Yeah, man. She said go crazy with it, so I went crazy with it.
Maybe if you get kidnapped underwater, you'll find the other people that are potentially still alive underwater.
Right.
That could be cool. I think they're dead personally, but
Oh,
that
I'm
would
sure
be
they
awesome.
are. Ron is for sure they're dead.
I'm not.
If they're not
trying
already
to-
the creatures that are coming on land, in
Maybe,
fact.
yeah.
Yeah, oh no.
Yeah,
I almost
man.
said something really
Yeah,
dark.
yeah.
Humanoid harpoon, come at
Monstrosity.
night.
How do you make a
Yeah.
monstrosity?
Yeah.
See, and until you guys said it, I didn't even think they were building something. I just thought, they like to eat dead people. And then when they ran out of dead people, they started eating living people.
It was monsters from the sea, so it was like, okay, so what's going on? But then, seeing that hybridized fish, I was like, this rings a bell. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I would like to help Lily's family stay on Bingle if we can.
Yeah.
Also because I don't know how we're going to get them out of there. Getting all those people through a portal in one round probably is going to be crazy.
I'm gonna have to row real far.
And if we have to, and maybe Jeff doesn't know either.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't.
It's because it'll depend on what we do.
No, it'll depend on what happens and what we do.
And that is the beauty of Dungeons
That's
and Dragons.
exactly it.
Indeed. All right, folks, a whole hour of talk all about adventure, harpies, love triangles, spellcasting, and murderous seagulls is behind us. With just one day until another fantastic voyage back into Dungeon Run, we owe a huge thanks to our no longer mustache-clad adventurer, James Quillis Morgan. Yay! And our favorite three-quarter orc, Uggo. Yay! And of course to you, the watchers of the time stream. Thank you so very much. I'm your host, Trisha Hershberger, and this was another episode of Dungeon Rundown. Be sure to catch an all-new live streaming episode of Dungeon Run tomorrow at 6 p.m. Then be back here next Tuesday to recap and get ready for the episode after that. Visit caffeine.tv for some amazing streaming content, and then visit our YouTube if you want to rewatch or replay this and every episode that you love of Dungeon Run. So from everyone here on the Dungeon Run team, thank you so much for logging in, and good night.